The story begins not with money, not with luxury, but with silence. The kind of silence that lingers in a mansion too large for one man and his daughter. Alexander Grant was a millionaire many envied. His empire stretched across real estate, technology, and investments, yet behind the tall glass walls of his home was a secret too painful for him to speak about freely. His daughter, Lily, born into wealth and privilege, had never taken a single step. Doctors had said it was a neurological condition. Others hinted at a genetic defect. Despite years of specialists, therapies, and endless bills that Alexander gladly paid, the outcome was always the same. Lily, at 8 years old, was bound to a wheelchair. She had never walked, never run, never felt grass beneath her toes. The irony of it cut Alexander deeper than any business loss. He had all the money in the world, but he couldn't give his daughter the one thing she wanted most: freedom in her own body. It wasn't for lack of trying. He flew her to Switzerland for experimental treatments, to New York for advanced physiotherapy, even to Japan where specialists promised breakthrough therapies. Lily endured needles, braces, machines, and endless hope that faded with each failure. Over time, she stopped asking, stopped wishing. Instead, she buried herself in books and drawing, her imagination running wild where her legs could not. But there was something about Lily's smile, fragile yet radiant, that kept Alexander going. He swore he would never let despair define her life, even if his own heart carried it every day. That was when the nanny came. Her name was Clara. She wasn't the kind of woman Alexander usually noticed. She wasn't polished like the other nannies he had hired before, the ones with professional resumes and letters of recommendation. Clara was quiet, simple, with eyes that carried both kindness and mystery. She had worked in small towns, with children who had special needs, but had no glittering credentials. Something about her felt different, though. When she looked at Lily, it wasn't with pity, it was with belief. From the very first day, Lily responded to her. Clara would sit beside her, listen to her stories, and more importantly, never treated her like she was fragile glass. Where others coddled, Clara encouraged. Where others sighed in disappointment, Clara smiled as if every small effort was a victory. Alexander noticed, but he didn't intervene. For years he had trusted experts with polished degrees, only to be disappointed. What could this simple woman offer that they could not? But then, one late evening, Alexander walked past Lily's playroom and froze. He saw Clara kneeling on the carpet, holding Lily's hands. Soft music played in the background. Clara wasn't forcing Lily, wasn't lifting her. Instead, she whispered something Alexander couldn't quite hear. Slowly, painfully, with trembling effort, Lily shifted her weight forward. Her tiny legs wobbled like branches in the wind. She collapsed once, twice, 3 times, but Clara never scolded. She clapped, cheered, and whispered words that made Lily giggle even through her tears. And then it happened. Lily stood. Her knees shook violently, her face pale from the effort, but for the first time in her life, Alexander's daughter was standing on her own 2 feet. His heart nearly stopped. He stepped forward in shock, but Clara lifted a hand without looking back, as if telling him not to interrupt. Alexander stayed frozen, his throat tight. Just one step, Lily. You can do it, Clara whispered. And Lily, with trembling determination, lifted her foot and placed it forward. Then another. Then she fell into Clara's arms, laughing through tears. Alexander's eyes blurred. For years, specialists had failed. For years, science had said no. Yet here, in his own home, a woman he barely knew had given his daughter something priceless. But it wasn't magic. It was belief. In the weeks that followed, Clara's methods became clear. She didn't treat Lily like a patient. She treated her like a warrior. Every morning, they practiced. Not just walking, but dancing. Clara would play music, hold Lily's hands, and sway with her until the girl forgot she was supposed to be weak. Lily learned balance by laughing, strength by chasing balloons, endurance by playing games instead of endless drills. But with progress came pain. Lily fell often, scraping her knees, crying in frustration. Alexander couldn't bear it at times. His instinct was to stop the sessions, to cradle her back into the safety of her chair. But Clara stood firm. She needs to fight for this, Clara told him softly one night. If you shield her from pain, you'll also shield her from victory. Alexander struggled. He was a man who controlled everything. Markets, companies, deals worth millions. Yet here he was, helpless, watching his daughter's fragile body attempt what seemed impossible. But each fall was followed by a rise, each tear by a smile. Slowly, his fear gave way to faith. Still, not everyone believed. Relatives mocked him. You're letting a nanny play doctor? It's dangerous, Alex. She could hurt Lily permanently. Even his business partners whispered that grief had blinded him. But Alexander had seen with his own eyes his daughter was changing, blooming, growing stronger than ever. And then came the biggest challenge. One day, Clara asked Lily a question that shook Alexander to the core. Do you want to walk to your father? She whispered. Lily's eyes lit up. She nodded, determination glowing brighter than fear. Alexander stood across the room, tears already burning. For a moment, the house went silent. Then, step by trembling step, Lily began to walk. She stumbled, wavered, but kept moving forward. Her tiny arms reached out, her eyes locked on her father. And when she finally collapsed into his embrace, Alexander broke. The man the world saw as unshakable, powerful, untouchable, wept like a child. That night, he thanked Clara with a voice heavy with emotion. But Clara only smiled. Mr. Grant, she always had it in her. She just needed someone to remind her that she could. Lily's journey didn't end there. Walking was just the beginning. She learned slowly, painfully, to run, to dance, to climb. Her world expanded beyond the chair that once confined her. And Alexander, once obsessed with wealth, found himself transformed. For the first time, he realized the greatest fortune he had wasn't in his bank accounts, but in his daughter's laughter, her resilience, and the woman who had brought hope back into their lives. But perhaps the most unbelievable thing was what Lily said one night, as she sat on her father's lap, her legs tired but her spirit soaring. Daddy, she whispered, I'm not afraid anymore. Because now I know I can stand. Those words echoed louder than any success, louder than any deal, louder than all the applause Alexander had ever received in his life. And to you, dear viewer, if you've stayed with this story until now, let Lily's journey be a reminder, no challenge is too great, no dream too far. Sometimes, all it takes is someone who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. If this story touched your heart, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, share what part moved you most. And if you want to hear more powerful, inspiring stories like this, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Be kind always. Because sometimes, the smallest act of belief can change a life forever.